Imagine this. It's 2:37 a.m. in downtown San Francisco. A drunk pedestrian steps onto the road. A speeding Model Y, running Tesla's full self-driving, slams the brakes, recalculates, and swerves safely. Across the street, an Uber driver, exhausted after a 12-hour shift, misses the pedestrian by inches. Two worlds, two futures, one question. Will Tesla's autonomous revolution kill Uber by 2030? Because right now, the world's largest ride-hailing company doesn't own a single car, and the world's most valuable car company is building a fleet with no drivers at all. This is the business war no one predicted, and if the predictions are even half true, the next decade will decide who controls global transportation. To understand this war, you first need to understand the two giants. Uber, a company built on a simple promise: tap a button, get a ride. No cars, no ownership, just a massive marketplace linking riders to drivers. For years, the model worked brilliantly. 131 million monthly users, 6 million active drivers, operating in 70-plus countries, and $35 billion annual revenue. But the weakness was always hidden in plain sight. Uber depends on people, and people are expensive, unreliable, and inconsistent. Now look at Tesla. Tesla's ambition isn't just to sell cars. It wants to eliminate human driving entirely. 5+ billion real-world autonomous miles, a neural network trained on global driving behavior, vision-only AI system improving every month, and the upcoming Robo Taxi fleet that needs no driver, no brakes, and no sleep. Uber wants to scale rides. Tesla wants to own the future of driving itself. This is where the collision begins. Uber has one fundamental problem. Its entire business model collapses if drivers are removed. Because a driver takes commission, incentives, bonuses, surge earnings, minimum wage requirements, legal protections, and insurance mandates. In the US, drivers take around 75 to 80% of the fare, which means Uber keeps less than 25%, sometimes even less. And after paying overhead, the company barely makes any actual profit. Uber has been in business for 15+ years, yet true profitability remains unstable, razor-thin, and unpredictable. Now enter Tesla, a company building a system where there are no drivers, no commissions, no incentives, no human error, and no labor disputes. Where each robotaxi could operate 20 to 22 hours per day, generating revenue with microscopic cost. Tesla's promise is brutal for Uber. Why pay a driver when a robot can do the job better, cheaper, and safer? And investors across Silicon Valley know exactly what that means. If Tesla pulls this off, the economics of ride-hailing will flip overnight. Uber's advantage disappears. Its costs stay high, and Tesla undercuts every fare by a huge margin. But there's a twist. It's not that simple, because Tesla's dream is facing some massive roadblocks, legal, technical, and ethical, that Uber is betting heavily on. And this is where the real war gets interesting. Tesla's biggest challenge isn't making a fast car or building factories. Their real challenge is solving full autonomy in a world that refuses to behave logically. Self-driving works great on smooth highways and predictable roads, but the world is not predictable. A kid can run between parked cars, a mattress can fall off a truck, a construction worker can give confusing signals, a cyclist can suddenly swerve, or a pedestrian might cross on red but still motion you to pass. These rare events make up less than 1% of situations, but they cause most life-or-death failures. And this is where Tesla struggles the most. Real life doesn't follow rules, and AI has to survive chaos, not just logic. Even if Tesla's cars become statistically safer than humans, the legal system won't move fast. Regulators hate uncertainty. They don't care about innovation as much as they care about avoiding headlines that ruin careers. One high-profile crash, One glitch going viral or one lawsuit can freeze progress for months. On top of that, there is no agreed-upon answer to the most basic question. If a robotaxi hits someone, who is legally responsible? Tesla? The passenger? The software company? The city? Courts don't agree, regulators don't agree, and insurers don't agree. This makes mass deployment painfully slow. Then comes adoption. Even if the technology works, millions of people will hesitate to sit in a car with no driver. Trust takes time. Behavior changes slowly. Every delay gives Uber time to breathe. And Uber knows this very well. That's why Uber publicly says that full autonomy at scale is not happening in the near term. It's their polite way of saying, if Tesla actually pulls this off soon, we're finished. But Uber is not just hoping Tesla fails. Uber is building its own survival strategy. First, Uber's global footprint is a weapon Tesla can't match. Tesla might launch Robo Taxis city by city, but Uber already operates in more than 70 countries. Even if Tesla dominates the US, it cannot replace Uber everywhere at once. Second, Uber isn't dependent on ride-sharing alone. Uber Eats is a massive business on its own, and autonomous cars cannot walk food to your door. Tesla isn't building delivery robots. Uber is diversified. Tesla is not. This gives Uber multiple revenue streams to fall back on. Third, Uber has changed its strategy completely. Instead of fighting self-driving companies, Uber wants to partner with them. Waymo rides already appear inside the Uber app. Other pilot programs are active in multiple cities. Uber's long-term plan is simple. They don't care who builds the robotaxi. They just want to be the marketplace where every robotaxi plugs in. If Tesla builds the best robot, fine. If Waymo builds the safest one, great. If BYD builds a cheaper one, even better. Uber wants to be the platform, not the manufacturer. And finally, self-driving cars won't replace human drivers everywhere. Rural areas, bad weather zones, construction regions, and chaotic traffic environments will always need human oversight. Autonomy will expand unevenly, not instantly, and Uber thrives in imperfect environments. So right now, this business war comes down to one brutal reality. If Tesla truly reaches full autonomy before 2030, Uber is in serious danger. If Tesla is delayed, Uber survives and maybe even becomes stronger. This isn't a battle of brands, it's a battle of timelines and economics, and the timeline is still uncertain. Uber knows it cannot out-engineer Tesla, so instead it is trying to outsmart Tesla by building an ecosystem that makes Tesla just one of many players instead of the only player. And this is where Nvidia enters the story. Nvidia doesn't build cars. Nvidia builds the brains inside cars. But without real-world driving data, even the most powerful chip is useless. Uber understood that Nvidia had the hardware but not the data, and Uber had the data but not the hardware. So they struck a deal that could reshape the entire industry. Uber handed Nvidia more than 3 million hours of real-world driving footage. This data came from some of the messiest, most chaotic traffic situations on the planet. It included every unpredictable scenario Tesla's engineers worry about. Nvidia is now feeding this massive data set into its supercomputers to train a generalized driving brain, one that can be used by any car company, not just one company. And the plan is simple. Nvidia will build the AI brain. Companies like BYD, Volvo, Hyundai, Tata, and Stellantis will build the cars, and Uber will put those cars on its platform. This means Uber could have access to thousands of robotaxis from multiple brands at once, not just one fleet from one manufacturer. Tesla cannot scale like that. Tesla builds its own cars. That limits how fast it can expand. But Uber doesn't build cars. Uber can plug in 10 manufacturers in a year. And if China builds robotaxis at half the cost, Uber will happily deploy them. Uber doesn't care who wins the tech race. Uber just wants to own the demand. That is their survival strategy. Meanwhile, Tesla's strategy is completely different. Tesla wants to control everything end to end. The car, the chips, the charging, the software, the data, the manufacturing, the marketplace. Tesla wants a closed loop, a monopoly-level ecosystem fueled by its own robo-taxis. If Tesla wins, Uber becomes irrelevant. If Uber's model works, Tesla becomes just another supplier plugged into a much bigger platform. But here's the twist. Even if Uber secures millions of robo-taxis, there's one more challenge: trust. When people open the Uber app, they expect reliability. They expect a driver to show up. With robo-taxis, that promise becomes harder. What happens if a robo-taxi gets confused and stops in the middle of the road? What happens if weather disables sensors? What if a glitch causes unpredictable behavior? If just one company fails, customers won't blame the manufacturer. They'll blame the platform. Uber's reputation is on the line. Tesla doesn't face this problem because Tesla owns the entire fleet. If something breaks, it's Tesla's problem alone. But Uber is turning itself into a marketplace of risk. Every robotics company it partners with becomes a potential liability. This business war is not about who has better technology. It's about who can scale faster, regulate smarter, and survive public perception. Tesla has the engineering. Uber has the distribution. Tesla is betting on perfection. Uber is betting on diversification. And somewhere in between, regulators, insurance companies, and public trust will decide the real winner. But the biggest question remains unanswered. What happens when the cost of transportation collapses? Today in the US, an average Uber ride costs around $2 to $3 per mile. In a future where robo-taxis cost only a fraction of that, entire industries could collapse. Car ownership might plunge. Parking lots might disappear. Insurance companies will have to rebuild their entire business model. Driving schools could become obsolete. And millions of jobs tied to transportation might disappear forever. The world is moving toward a shift that's bigger than cars. This is a shift in how cities function, how people move, and how the economy runs. And both Tesla and Uber are racing to define that future before the other gets there first. But behind this race, there is a darker question no one wants to answer publicly. What happens when a single software update can shut down an entire city's transportation overnight? With human drivers, your system fails one person at a time. With autonomous fleets, a bug can break the entire network. Imagine a world where 40,000 robo-taxis are operating in Los Angeles. One flawed update, one corrupted data pipeline, and suddenly every car refuses to move. Traffic freezes, people are stranded, emergency services stop. The city becomes a hostage to code. This is the nightmare scenario regulators fear the most, and this fear slows Tesla down far more than it slows Uber. Tesla's entire system is centralized: one brain, one network, one update. Uber, on the other hand, is building a fragmented model: 10 manufacturers, multiple AI systems, many supply chains. If one system fails, Uber can still function using the others. Uber is trying to avoid a single point of failure. Tesla, by design, embraces it. One unified network, perfect when it works, catastrophic if it breaks. And yet, despite this risk, Tesla holds an advantage that no one else can match: data. 6 million Teslas on the road, collecting billions of real-world miles every single day. Every city, every highway, every weather condition. Uber may have drivers, but human-generated data is messy, inconsistent, and full of noise. Tesla's data is clean, structured, synchronized. Tesla knows how real drivers behave, how real accidents happen, how weather changes reaction time, how traffic patterns evolve through the seasons. Uber cannot replicate that, no matter how much data it shares with Nvidia. So the real battle becomes predictable: a company with perfect data versus a company with perfect distribution. Tesla knows the world. Uber controls the world's transportation habits, and both are trying to build a future large enough to erase the other. But now let's talk about something people ignore entirely: economics. The moment robo-taxis become cheaper than owning a car, the economics of transportation collapse. Today, most cars sit idle 95% of the time. You buy them, insure them, repair them, clean them, just to use them occasionally. It is one of the most inefficient investments in modern society. But if a robo-taxi can arrive at your door in 45 seconds, cost 70% less than an Uber, and operate 24/7 without brakes, you no longer need a car. Highways will empty, used car prices will crash, gas stations will vanish, repair shops will die. Even malls and restaurants will redesign their spaces because massive parking lots will no longer be necessary. This change won't happen slowly. Once robo-taxis reach a certain price point, the shift will be as sudden as the rise of smartphones. 1 decade and the entire market flips. The first company to bring robo-taxis to scale will control not just transportation, but mobility itself. And that is why Tesla and Uber are now locked in a do-or-die war. Their strategies are complete opposites, but the goal is identical: dominate the ride economy before it redefines modern life. And somewhere in the background, another silent force is watching: insurance companies. Tesla claims their system will reduce accidents by 90%. Waymo has early data showing 88% fewer property damages and 92% fewer injury claims. These numbers, if proven true at scale, will crush today's insurance giants. Because if robots don't crash, insurance loses its purpose. Big insurance companies will lobby aggressively. Regulators will pause deployments. Lawsuits will multiply. Safety standards will tighten. And any company that fails even once will suffer consequences that could echo for decades. This isn't just a business war, it is a political war, a regulatory war, a war of public trust, economic survival, and technological dominance. Uber cannot afford to lose because its entire identity is tied to ride-sharing. Tesla cannot afford to lose because its stock price is already priced for victory. If Tesla's robotaxis fail, its valuation collapses. If Uber fails, its entire business model collapses. The stakes are existential for both. So, how is Uber trying to fight back? Their approach is clever, almost surgical. Instead of building their own robot, they decided to outsource intelligence. They partnered with Nvidia, providing millions of real-world driving hours to train AI without needing their own fleet. This way, Uber becomes a platform for multiple manufacturers. Mercedes builds luxury robotaxis. BYD builds cheap robotaxis for emerging markets. Stellantis, Ford, and others all contribute. Uber is no longer dependent on one single car or one single AI. If Tesla fails, Uber can still operate. If Tesla succeeds, Uber can buy the best technology and distribute it instantly. This strategy minimizes risk, it spreads out responsibility, and hedges against Tesla's single point of failure advantage. Uber isn't racing to build the smartest car, they're racing to build the smartest network. And in the long run, this could be just as powerful as owning the car itself. Distribution is as valuable as innovation when you're talking about global scale. 1 million cars in Uber's network means 1 million lives affected every day. That is influence. That is power. But let's circle back to Tesla. They are still the leader in pure AI-driven driving. Their system has proven it can replace human drivers safely at a fraction of the cost. Every mile driven by Tesla feeds the neural network. Every near miss, every successful maneuver, every obstacle avoided trains the AI further. Tesla is not just building a car. They are building a self-improving brain for transportation. And this is why Wall Street values Tesla as a technology company, not just an automaker. Because what Tesla is selling is not steel and wheels, it is autonomy, efficiency, and dominance over the future of movement. And yet, no one knows the tipping point. Is it price, convenience, safety, or a combination of all three? Once robotaxis reach critical mass, the switch will be almost instant. Today's Uber riders will never return to human-driven cars. Today's Tesla investors will suddenly realize their stock isn't just an automaker, it's a gatekeeper to an entirely new economy. This is the reality of 2030. Two companies, both masters of mobility, locked in a battle that goes far beyond rides. One controls data, AI, and innovation. The other controls scale, distribution, and adaptability. Both are trying to predict the future before the other does. And in this war, every decision, software update, every partnership can mean survival or extinction. So, will Uber be dead by 2030? Maybe. But maybe by playing the long game, hedging risk, and building a platform instead of a product, they survive in a way that no one expects. Tesla, with all its brilliance and audacity, could dominate the world or stumble under the weight of its own perfection. The truth is, no one can predict which way it will go. The only certainty, transportation as we know it will never be the same. And for you, the consumer, the lesson is clear. The future is arriving faster than you think. In less than a decade, the idea of owning a car might feel as outdated as owning a horse. And whether Tesla or Uber wins, mobility, cost, and convenience will be transformed forever. This is not just a story about cars. It's a story about power, innovation, and survival in the 21st century. Tesla versus Uber is more than a business war. It's a glimpse into the future of how we move, live, and even think about transportation. And the best part? You are witnessing it unfold. Thank you for watching. If this case study gave you new insights into the business wars shaping our world, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the future waits for no one.